Thanks, everyone. My name is Allison Lacey. I'm a partner here at Fasken in the Infrastructure Group, and wanted to welcome everybody here today. I'm going to be very brief. This is the fourth year in a row we've hosted this event, and we're finding every year there are more and more people from Latin America coming up to the PPP conference, which is fantastic. And we're also finding there are more and more Canadians looking at PPP in Latin America. So this is a very interesting event. We hope you all enjoy it. I'm just going to turn it right over to Bill Maharis. He's the manager of the Info Center and Trade Commissioner with Global Affairs Canada. And he's based here in Toronto, and he's been with the department since 2001.
Well, thanks very much, Allison, and thank you to Fasken for hosting this event annually. I understand it's the fourth year that you've been hosting, so wonderful. Thank you for the space. Thank you for all the support that you give. I'm Bill Maharis. I'm the Trade Commissioner with Global Affairs Canada, based here in Toronto. I have a number of colleagues in the room as well, so thank you, colleagues, as well, for coming to this event. I'd like to acknowledge again the Colombia Chamber of Trade and Investment. What a great job you guys are doing. Congratulations. And it's wonderful to be a sponsor and a partner with Canada-Colombia Chamber year after year and support events that you do that are so critical, I think, for Canada-Colombia Trade and Investment. Canada has been actively deepening its engagement with the Pacific Alliance. First, we were a Latin American observer in 2012, and then we signed a joint declaration on partnership with the Pacific Alliance in 2016. And last year, we were among the first countries invited to become an associated state of the Pacific Alliance, along with Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. The Pacific Alliance is a very, very important market for Canada in trade and investment. It's got a combined GDP of $2.5 trillion with 223 million inhabitants, and it is very, very important for Canada. I wanted to talk a little bit about Canada-Pacific Alliance commercial relations just for 1 minute. We have comprehensive and ambitious free trade agreements with all the 4 Pacific Alliance members, Mexico, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. Our total merchandise trade with Pacific Alliance countries is about $51 billion in 2017. This represents about 80% of Canada's engagement in two-way trade with all of Latin America. So 80% of our trade with Latin America is with those 4 Pacific Alliance members. So that's showing you how important that particular geography is for Canada. And in terms also of investment, Canadian direct investment abroad, this is really one of the key markets for Canada, with a combined $48 billion of cumulative investment from Canada to the Pacific Alliance countries. That is primarily in 3 sectors: in the mining sector, infrastructure, and the financial services sectors. The Trade Commissioner Service has a substantial presence in the Pacific Alliance countries, in 4 countries. In Mexico, we have the Embassy in Mexico City, along with 2 trade consulates in Guadalajara and Monterrey. In Chile, we have our embassy in Santiago. In Colombia, we have the embassy in Bogota, and of course, our embassy in Lima covering Peru. We have trade commissioners in each of these offices for Canadian companies and investors who are looking for market intelligence, contacts, and information in each of these markets. We assist Canadian companies who want to export or invest abroad, who have a product, service, or technology from Canada, who want to invest either in the Pacific Alliance markets or in the 150 other markets internationally where Canada has our trade presence. We also help foreign companies who want to buy Canadian products, services, or technologies, or who want to joint venture or partner with Canadian companies. And finally, we assist foreign companies who want to invest in Canada. And by investment, we mean greenfield investments, or a new distribution center, or a new manufacturing plant, a new office. Okay. So that's the services of the Trade Commissioner's Service. I wish you all the best of success this evening. It's my pleasure now to introduce Andres Trevino, the President of the Canada-Colombia Chamber.
Good afternoon, my name is Andres Trevino. I'm the President of the Canada-Colombia Chamber of Investment and Trade. We are an organization created in Canada to support and promote these relations between the 2 countries. Among the industries that we promote, we have infrastructure, oil and gas, mining, technologies, and we also support social infrastructure. today. I want to thank Faskin for, once again, hosting this event. We love the event here, so thank you very much. I want to introduce Brian. Brian Kelson, partner at Faskin. Brian practices focus on project finance and development, banking, corporate finance, and public-private partnerships. Brian has vast experience in infrastructure development and finance across Canada, the US, and emerging markets. Brian has acted for clients across the telecom, infrastructure, energy, oil and gas, and mining sectors. Brian's expertise in project finance and banking law has been recognized by leading legal publications, including the expert American Lawyer's Guide to the leading 500 lawyers in Canada, Best Lawyers, Which School You Wrote, Everyone Best of the Best, Chambers Canada, and the International Financial Law Review. Without further delay, please help me in welcoming Brian Kelson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is this working, this thing? Yeah, it's working. If you can't hear me,
Yes.
yes, it's working. Okay, good. Well, I had the privilege of going down to Bogota with Andres and Allison and another of our partners, Alapaca. Was that about 4 or 5 months ago?
Yep.
Great fun. Met a lot of people, including Carlos. So welcome everybody, and thank you for coming. So the panel format today is really quite simple. I'm going to ask some questions. People, I think, if I may, I'm going to ask some questions that really apply generally, so that we'll sort of drop down the line. Go first with Carlos, and then so Colombia, Peru, and Chile. They're more broad. Of course, I'm going to ask the main question, which is what's in the pipeline coming up, which I'm sure you're all interested to hear. And then I've got, if time permits, we've got some other questions that relate to the country specifically. So, starting with the obvious and a general question, what can you tell me about the business and economic climate right now in your particular country, and what factors do you see driving that in the medium term, medium term? Either positive or negative. Carlos, why don't I start with you, and we can just pop down that line.
Thank you, Brian. I'm delighted to be here with you today. Thank you to the Chamber, to Faskin, our host, and to all of you for attending. In the case of Colombia, we see an interesting long-term view. If you look at the numbers of economic growth, Colombia is doing well. It has been doing well for the last 20 years. If you compare with the average of the Latin American and the Caribbean markets, this year we will grow by 2.8%. If you compare this with the average, it will be 1.2%, and next year the results expected are going to be kind of the same. But more than that, I would say there are several topics that I would like to stress. For instance, that today Colombia is part of the OECD, and that brings to us pride and the possibility of having more higher standards and a way to conduct business in our country. So any investor in the world knows what we are talking about, OECD, and we are proud to be part of that organization that will bring, as I mentioned, higher standards for conducting and having business in our country. And in terms of the drivers of economic growth, I think it's worth mentioning on the one hand, 4G. 4G will add kind of 0.7% to GDP in the long term. That is not only because the investments that will create jobs will generate kind of a vigor to the economy, but also because that means in the long run more productivity and more competitiveness of the country, connecting cities and ports, having more possibility of doing between business and connecting people and different sectors in the economy. The other thing that I'd like to mention is the commodity cycle. I mean, even though Colombia wants to diversify the export matrix, we are still dependent on oil mainly, and in the medium term at least we will see a good environment for the oil business, and of course that will bring resources to the economy. And the last thing, which is quite important for us, of course, is the peace process. The peace process will bring the expansion of the agribusiness in Colombia, the possibility of having more resources, different subsectors that will be bring to the formal economy, and of course in the short term the possibility of reducing our expenditure in defense, in homeland security. So for all these reasons, we see with an optimistic way the medium and long term forecast for Colombia.
Alberto?
Well, thank you. I would point in general that what you see here is probably the best of Latin America. There are not Argentinians or Brazilians in the room. No, but this is the Pacific Alliance, and this is probably the most open economies in the continent, the ones that have embraced early on and for a very long period of time, and more constantly free market liberal policies and a free market economy. And that's paying off handsomely now, as we see other economies that didn't, and now they regret that they didn't. We're happy with it, and in Peru in particular, we have been blessed with being able to achieve high growth GDP numbers coupled with low inflation numbers, which is rarely seen around the world. But that happens mostly because of the market opportunities, and because most of our sectors are yet to be penetrated. So, I mean, there is room for growth without economic overheating. And that's something that provides a large opportunity for capital. And just to point out, any kind of capital. The Peruvian Constitution, which changed in 1992, in Article 20-something, there's a lawyer around there that actually told me which one, but I don't memorize the whole Constitution. But I know that somewhere it says that there might be no discriminatory treatment between local and foreign capital. So a local and foreign investor enjoys exactly the same rights against the law, I mean, in any court or tribunal, when it comes to the protection of its capital. And this is key, because that, coupled with a very free flow of capital system that we have, I mean, capital's inflow and outflows in Peru are totally free. You don't even have to register, there's no obligation to register actually. Of course, we always ask you to do so, it helps the statistics, but if you don't, I mean, there's no penalty in it. It really helps what was a real important surge in FDI throughout the last few years. So we are, just like Colombia, growing at very high numbers. We expect to have around 4% GDP growth this year, one of the highest in the region, and that's IMF estimates, by the way. And we are expecting to still keep around between 3 and 4% for the following probably 10 years. That's the rosy picture. That rosy picture has also a not so nice side to it, and that is that we have a very large infrastructure gap in Peru, estimated at around $160 billion. That means that, and it's very interesting because about a month ago I was chairing a panel with a former finance economic minister, and he actually did the math. He found that in the region, Peru is one of the countries that spends or actually invests the most as a percentage of GDP into infrastructure. So it's not really the lack of that will. I mean, we actually do invest, the government does invest a lot of resources into infrastructure. But even so, and given that, even considering that we are one of the fastest economies in the region, even if we keep that very high growth ratio and we keep that very high investment relative to GDP amount, we will still not be able to cover the infrastructure gap. So we need to become more and more efficient and more productive to the dollar spent into our projects. And that's part of the general strategy that the government has been deploying for the last couple of years probably. We have been changing the regulatory framework. We have been doing also changes within ProInversion to improve our system. Peru embraced the PPP system somewhere around the mid-90s. Actually privatization and PPPs, but fostering private capital into government or public services projects has a long history, about 20 plus years in Peru. And I heard this during the panel this morning, something that I really liked. They said, Jesse Jackson once said, you learn what you burn, but we learn a lot. And we want to keep on learning. And part of those, but not burning, by the way, just learning. And part of that experience has been incorporated into the new regulation. And I'm sure we're going to have time to dwell more into it. But we are always observant on how we can actually improve the rules, the transparency, the predictability of our processes, and help foreign capital and capital from all sources into the country, and help us cover that very large gap that I just mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, the organizer of this meeting. Well, about Chile, we can say 5 things why invest in Chile. First, we have a strong macroeconomic basis. Our figures are very good for the last or even 30 years. We have a real average growth about 5% per annum. So it's the highest in the region. And we have a moderate inflation during the last 8 years. We have around no more than 3.4% annual. So it's a very good rate for us. And we have the central bank in charge of maintain that rate, the minimum or the maximum of the 3% per annum. Also, we have, as Alberto said, we have an economic development, very diversified, very open to the world that began at the 90s, and we are basically an economy, an export economy. First, exportation in copper, and also agriculture exportation and wine and other, and also now service, especially in IT and also general service, financial service. The second thing I think it's very important that doing business in Chile is well run in all the world. We have a very good rank. I guess one of the most important, or one of the first in Latin America. Sometimes when people said you are the first, perhaps we are more serious or more more cold than the other neighbors, and perhaps that are the other investors, and we are very open to all the economies, and especially in doing PPP projects or doing infrastructure. We have, I think, a lot of experience in this kind of project. We began with this project in 1991. We have around 26 years of experience, 94 projects awarded, especially in road investment, toll roads, but also we have around 6 hospital projects, 8 prisons, and also 3 or 4 irrigation dams. So we have a diversity of infrastructure in Chile, and one of the important things about this doing PPP projects is about our strong regulatory framework. We began with this law in 1991. We modified that law at the beginning of the 8 years ago, in order to recover or to recover the lessons that we have learned about that, to reduce unnecessary risk for the state and also for the investors. And another thing is we have concentrated all the manage all of this kind of project in one institution. We have a national agency called General P3 Direction that reports to the Ministry of Public Works, where I belong to. And this is the only one institution in charge of all of PPP projects in our country. So if one ministry wants to develop a special project like health or like justice, have to mandate this ministry. That is important because you can begin or you can contribute a national corporate vision and through our country that reduce the claims, that reduce different opinions, and I think our experience and also reviewing this experience in some countries you look that is a good idea to adopt. And 4, we have, I said, 26 years of successful experience with P3. I think we today all the relevant infrastructure works are done by P3. Today, nobody thinks doing any highway or any big infrastructure without P3. So it has been a very good tool to develop our country and reduce the gap of the infrastructure that we have. In that sense, I told you that we are so open, and investors has the opportunity to invest. We don't have limits in that. You are not obliged to form a consortium with a local partner. This is your decision. More of our P3 are now belongs to international groups. For instance, more than 75% of our toll roads in Santiago belongs to Canadian funds.
I just want to thank Andres and the Chamber for hosting us today, and to let you know that here with me are my colleagues. I'm Claudia Gutierrez, State Commissioner in the Embassy of Colombia. We're here to support you doing business in our country. So we have Caroline van der Loo in Lima, in Peru, Patricio Cañete in Santiago, Chile, and we also have Patricia Bustamante in Ecuador, in Quito. So please feel free to contact us if you need any support in our countries, and feel free to contact these gentlemen who help us and explain us a little bit about our projects. Thank you.
To just simply say thank you very much to our panel. It's very interesting, very impressive. And we've done this for a lot of years, so thanks again. Good to see you all. And please come and join us for a glass of wine.